Letter 8. Tonsberg was formerly the residence of one of the little sovereigns of Norway, and on an adjacent mountain the vestiges of a fort remain, which was battered down by the Swedes, the entrance of the bay lying close to it. Here I have frequently strayed. Sovereign of the waste, I seldom met any human creature, and sometimes, reclining on the mossy down, under the shelter of a rock, the prattling of the sea amongst the petals has lulled me to sleep. No fear of any rude satyrs approaching to interrupt my repose. Balmy were the slumbers, and soft the gales that refreshed me when I awoke to follow, with an eye vaguely curious, the white sails as they turned the cliffs, or seemed to take shelter under the pines which covered the little islands that so gracefully rose to render the terrific ocean beautiful. The fishermen were calmly casting their nets, whilst the seagulls hovered over the unruffled deep. Everything seemed to harmonize into tranquility. Even the mournful call of the bittern was in cadence with the tinkling bells on the necks of the cows, that, pacing slowly one after the other, along an inviting path in the vale below, were repairing to the cottages to be milked. With what ineffable pleasure have I not gazed, and gazed again, losing my breath through my eyes. My very soul diffused itself in the scene, and seeming to become all senses, glided in the scarcely agitated waves, melted in the freshening breeze, or taking its flight with fairy wing, to the misty mountains which bounded the prospect, fancy tripped over new lawns, more beautiful even than the lovely slopes on the winding shore before me. I pause, again breathless, to trace with renewed delight sentiments which entranced me, when, turning my humid eyes from the expanse below to the vault above, my sight pierced the fleecy clouds that softened the azure brightness, and imperceptibly recalling the reveries of childhood, I bowed before the awful throne of my Creator, whilst I rested on its footstool. You have sometimes wondered, my dear friend, at the extreme affection of my nature. But such is the temperature of my soul. It is not the vivacity of youth, the heyday of existence. For years have I endeavored to calm an impetuous tide, laboring to make my feelings take an orderly course. It was striving against the stream. I must love and admire with warmth, or I sink into sadness. Tokens of love which I have received have wrapped me in Elysium, purifying the heart they enchanted. My bosom still glows. Do not saucily ask, repeating Sterne's question, "Maria, is it still so warm?" Sufficiently, O my God, has it been chilled by sorrow and unkindness. Still nature will prevail, and if I blush at recollecting past enjoyment, it is the rosy hue of pleasure heightened by modesty, for the blush of modesty and shame are as distinct as the emotions by which they are produced. I need scarcely inform you, after telling you of my walks, that my constitution has been renovated here, and that I have recovered my activity, even whilst attaining a little embonpoint. My imprudence last winter, and some untoward accidents, just at the time I was weaning my child, had reduced me to a state of weakness which I never before experienced. A slow fever preyed on me every night during my residence in Sweden, and after I arrived at Tonsberg. By chance I found a fine rivulet filtered through the rocks and confined in a basin for the cattle. It tasted to me like Shelley beet. At any rate, it was pure, and the good effect of the various waters which invalids were sent to drink depends, I believe, more on the air, exercise, and change of scene than on their medicinal qualities. I therefore determined to turn my morning walks towards it and seek for health from the nymph of the fountain, partaking of the beverage offered to the tenants of the shade. Chance likewise led me to discover a new pleasure equally beneficial to my health. I wished to avail myself of my vicinity to the sea and bathe, but it was not possible near the town. There was no convenience. The young woman whom I mentioned to you proposed rowing me across the river amongst the rocks, but as she was pregnant, I insisted on taking one of the oars and learning to row. It was not difficult, and I do not know a pleasanter exercise. I soon became expert, and my train of thinking kept time, as it were, with the oars, or I suffered the boat to be carried along by the current, indulging a pleasing forgetfulness or fallacious hopes. How fallacious! Yet without hope, what is to sustain life but the fear of annihilation, the only thing of which I have ever felt a dread? I cannot bear to think of being no more, of losing myself, though existence is often but a painful consciousness of misery. Nay, it appears to me impossible that I should cease to exist, or that this active, restless spirit, equally alive to joy and sorrow, should only be organized dust, ready to fly abroad the moment the spring snaps or the spark goes out which kept it together. Surely something resides in this heart that is not perishable, and life is more than a dream.